Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial, Javeda Bay, and this is my bed. And if you didn't know, yesterday was Juneteenth. Today it's being observed as a federal holiday. Whole other conversation, but we're not going to talk about this today. Today, because I am black and gay, I want to talk about the homophobia and transphobia within the black community. So let's get into it. Firstly, Jave, what do you mean the homophobia and transphobia within the black community? Isn't that just like a problem everywhere? Yes, homophobia and transphobia can be perpetuated by anyone and everyone. But within the black community, it is a very layered history and convoluted thing that really doesn't get talked about enough. So I wanted to do that today because, spoiler alert, y'all, the homophobia and transphobia that we perpetuate within the black community comes from racism and white supremacy. And you're like, Jave, what? Hear me out though. Before colonization and the whole transatlantic slave trade, when black folks were just in Africa, being black folks in Africa, there was not all these like views around like, oh, gayness, oh, transness, like bad, gross, we don't do that. No, it wasn't viewed in such a negative, derogatory way. Okay, not like completely like as it is. Like probably some places were like, I don't know. But for the most part, it didn't have this like huge connotation. It was like the worst thing ever. That connotation came after the transatlantic, well, within the transatlantic slave trade, when people came and took African individuals and enslaved them in the US and other parts of the Americas to be slave labor. And it came with the perpetuation of Christianity. And this idea that you can't, like, gayness is unacceptable, we don't do that, and blah, blah, blah. Just like perpetuating that's a bad thing and trying to force people out of it and things of that nature. So that's where it really stemmed from. It stemmed from slavery times. Go figure. Something goes back to slavery. Shocking. But so a lot of it is rooted in that. That's where it stems from. And then as we progress through history, we get out of slavery times, you know, Juneteenth happens and things of that nature. Why is it that homophobia and transphobia are still perpetuated within the black community? Well, as you see, it stemmed from white people being like, this is how you gotta be. This whole notion of being close to whiteness has continued to perpetuate through time. It is still a thing today in 2022. And so this idea that we get closer to whiteness by doing things that white people do means that black communities held this notion that like, oh, we can't have gay kids. Like we don't support like our trans youths and things of that nature because that's just unacceptable. We don't do that. That's some white people stuff essentially. Because it gave this idea that like, if we don't do those things, we're closer to being accepted by white people. So henceforth, there I say, rooted in white supremacy, because it comes from this notion that we should be striving to be like white people because white is seen as best and yada, yada, yada. And so what's all this to mean, Jave? It means that this idea of like, oh, black kids that are gay, nope, that's unacceptable. Like being terrible to young black trans individuals and children and youth. No, disowning family because they say that they're black and gay. No, like the reason you're doing it is so deep rooted in things that are meant to harm you. We don't do that. So this is for all my black folk. This Juneteenth, yesterday, but in general, this Pride Month, love on the black and gay people in your lives. Love on all of them because that's what makes them, it's not the only thing that makes them beautiful, but that's what makes them beautiful. That's what makes them them. They are being who they are, and we should support that. We shouldn't try and dim anyone's light to fit into what we think we're supposed to be based on other people's definitions. No, we're being who we want to be because that's who we are, and not because someone said that we had to be something else. So go love on the black and gay people in your life. And if you are a white person watching this, go give some money to a black person today, especially a black LGBTQIA plus person today, because it is Pride Month. And also, if you are a white person that got off today because it's a federal holiday, you better tip any and every black person you see working today. I don't care if it's not a situation that you would tip them. I don't care if you ain't got cash, ask for a Venmo. Tip, because you got the day off for a black holiday and they working. So, drop some coin. But, that's that. I hope that you learned a little bit something new and you're like, oh snap, I had no idea. And that you come back next week for an all new episode because I said so, okay? I'm black and gay, and it would be hate crime if you didn't. But until then, I'm gonna see y'all later. Deuces.